It's a great time to be outside in Arkansas. It's always a great time, and today we'll visit more of our great outdoors. Now, you've heard about the trout magnet and its amazing national success. We will fish the Little Red River today with one of the newest additions to the family, the D2 jig. We'll also look at the sport of archery through the eyes of an 8-year-old newcomer who found a love of bow and arrow at a neighborhood range in Bentonville. All that and more. Welcome to Arkansas's Great Outdoors. Jeff Smith is an Arkansan by way of West Virginia. Now, he came to Arkansas through Harding University, and then he came back when Harding called again. What happened in the interim was the development of a lure called the trout magnet. It was perfect for our year-round trout waters, and 1 billion sales later, a lot of other anglers agree. Now, on a previous episode, we fished with Jeff and the trout magnet. Today, we're fishing with one of his new products, the D2 jig. Now, this is important because Arkansas's year-round trout status is dependent on river flows. Now, if the current is strong, you need something with the ability to stay in the strike zone. We met Jeff and David Taylor at the Dripping Springs ramp of the Little Red River just outside of Pangburn. Just like they say, trout don't live in ugly places. The early morning ride to the first spot was uplifting. We eventually arrived, and Jeff couldn't resist that first cast, and neither could that rainbow trout.
Yeah, in between the two. Yeah.
Sorry, it was an accident. I didn't mean to do it. All right, no, that's all right. No, this is what we're looking for anyways, but you ready to go?
Okay.
Okay, Carlton.
Let's do it. Okay.
It is a beautiful morning. We got the right water, the right baits. Just let it sit still, and then pop. It's almost like you're mini setting the hook, a little bit harder. Let it set back down. A lot of times you'll see it. You'll see the line straighten up real quick too, since we're using that braid. The bigger fish, if you see logs, and there you go.
Okay.
I think you learned pretty quick. I'm not sure.
I'll tell you what.
First cast, I'd say.
Excellent instruction there.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
there we go.
right. But these bigger fish will be really close to structure.
Yeah.
They, here's what I'll say about these rainbows right here. These rainbows, you know, if you catch one, you keep fishing because he's got buddies.
Yeah.
The brown trout, they've eaten all their buddies. So they
okay.
don't have any friends around them. That's a great feeling. He's got buddies over in there, Carlton. He's got buddies. If he's got a great grandma with a little overweight problem.
Yeah. Yeah, we like the ones with eating disorders.
That's
yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
A little bit shallower in here.
Okay.
Maybe about 1 to 2 foot deep, so a little bit faster pop, moving it a little bit quicker. And these trout a lot of times will think that sculpin, crawdad, something moving quick. And the reason the big fish like this presentation on high waters, they can't see it real good. That's why you also want the low light. They see a flash and they don't know if it's real or not.
Now, here's a look at the D2 jig. Its signature feature is an oblong head shape, which allows it to fall through the water randomly. And then also the marabou, which allows it to cut through the water. Now, when the flows are strong, this is why this jig is successful. It's new on this brand, but a little bit later on in the show, you'll hear how this jig has been catching fish in Arkansas since the 1970s. Now, first, let's get some information from Bad Boy Mowers' Mallory Lindsay on how to get the most out of your next hike.
For any of us who have enjoyed the outdoors, we've also probably experienced a blister. Now, fortunately, these little pockets of pain can be prevented with just a few easy tips. So as we know, blisters are caused by friction. So reducing friction can help reduce the opportunity for blisters to come. Most of us, when we put our boots on, we'll push our toes to the front and then start tying. First, before you do that, kick your heel back to the back of the boot, and that prevents any space for your foot to slide when you're hiking, especially on elevated trails. After your heel is pushed back, then go ahead and start tying that boot. Another helpful tip is wearing good quality socks. I always like to keep an extra pair in my backpack just in case my feet get wet.
Arkansas's Great Outdoors is brought to you by Bad Boy Mowers, mow with an attitude, by Vexus Boats, by Visit Hot Springs, America's first resort, and by Certified Arkansas Bait Fish, the safe bait. Archery is a growing sport, which is kind of interesting from a historical perspective because it's how we used to hunt for hundreds and even thousands of years. But technology has made it even more effective in today's world, and access is improving as well, even in the city.
I basically try to find the lowest cloud, and then, like you said, go to a little bit to the right.
This is Marin. She lives in Rogers, and she has discovered a new sport. What is her favorite sound?
Probably the arrows hitting the target. I really like that. When I first went here, I was just like, I like that sound a lot, and I wanted to come here every day.
The Quiver just opened in Bentonville in October of 2021. It provides a unique opportunity for a new look at the traditional sport of archery.
It's a great facility. It's kind of a very unique facility in this area of the country and of Arkansas. We have seen a lot of hunters and NASP, which is National Archery in the School Program students in the area, but nobody has really delved into kind of competitive shooting at a range that's like this. And so we're building the community up and getting people that can shoot at farther and farther distances. Marin's one of our youngest shooters. We start at 8, actually, is the youngest that you can be to come out to the range here. But we do have a lot of like the 8 to 10-year-olds just getting started. They come out. It's a great family activity.
For Marin, she discovered this sport after reading a book.
The series was called Goddess Girls, and I think that book was called Artemis the Brave. And she did archery, and it just sounded really fun to me. And that's when it got me and said, I want to do archery.
Marin is not just an 8-year-old archer, she is also a publisher. She started Marin's Magazine to help kids her age read about good things in life.
So I made a magazine called Marin's Magazine, and it's just a magazine for kids. One day I was reading a different magazine called The Friend, and my mom was making dinner, and she said, you know how you love to read The Friend? And I said, yeah. And you know how you love to write? And I said, yeah. What about you make your own magazine? And I said, yeah. So, hello from Marin. Recently I took my first archery class. At first I was a little nervous because I didn't know what it would be like. I decided to try to have fun even though I didn't know a lot of things. It worked. I had so much fun and figured things out a little bit at a time. I'm so glad I tried something new. I know you will find new things you love when you try new things.
Marin, your publishing, just like your archery, is right on target.
Nice job.
Let's head up to north central Arkansas for the continuing story of Vexus Boats in Flippin. The premier boat builder helps us enjoy our time on the water like no other. Here's another chapter in the story of how they do it.
One thing you'll notice about our fiberglass Vexus boats is the shape of the holes. The shape of the hull is actually rounded on the outside. That's going to allow for a softer entry into the water. It's going to make the boat drier.
The way that they have it shaped, it pushes the water out away from the boat.
The VX20 is the smoothest riding boat out there.
Oh, it's the #1 boat on the water.
And that didn't happen by accident. That's a credit to our engineering team, and they've put a product that's unlike anything else on the water.
The process of building the hulls, it comes from 50+ years of craftsmen.
There's guys that's been doing this since 1968.
The way we've designed the hulls to shed the water and move it away from the boat also keeps that boat from, when you're hitting away, from crashing through it. It cuts through it, so you're not hitting a hard stop. It moves the water away and up and out.
I've taken this boat in big water, and I've yet to spear a wave. I've yet to get wet in it.
I fished a lot of big water, Lake Erie, Green Bay, and the way that this boat is handled in those rough conditions has been phenomenal.
Being able to eat up rough water, whether you're in a bass boat or in a DVX on the Great Lakes, these hulls are made for that.
The deep V, the dead rise in the bow, the way it turns into the pad in the back, the step that causes us to have a great hole shot and, you know, enhanced performance on the top end, all of those things are kind of melded together.
Another thing you'll notice about a fiberglass Vexus is our forked front end. It gives you extra width up there where we fish at.
It really allows Vexus to bring that extra space and that real estate right up here.
There's nothing like riding in a Vexus. When they get in that surround of that big hull and the big front deck, it's kind of like being in a sports car.
The ride is just outstanding.
Probably the best ride I've been in a bass boat.
That is the smoothest ride I've ever been on.
Thumbs up, love it. You can't help but like it.
Whether you're talking a VX bass boat or a DVX big water walleye boat, you can be confident that what we're building in this plant is the best out there.
When Arkansas's Great Outdoors returns, we head back to the Little Red River in White County and find some more trout. Arkansas's Great Outdoors is brought to you by Bad Boy Mowers, mow with an attitude, by Vexus Boats, by Visit Hot Springs, America's first resort, and by Certified Arkansas Bait Fish, the safe bait.
The best leaders don't just forge ahead, they adjust. Bad Boy Mowers has made adjustments at every turn, including our revolutionary 3-link suspension. Built tough and designed for superior performance and speed. Adjust the seat, handles, and pedals however you want. And as for Bad Boy's rebellious spirit, well, that hasn't adjusted at all. Bad Boy, mow with an attitude.
We want to tell you about our new YouTube channel called Expert Outdoors. This is a great site to see all of our Arkansas's Great Outdoors episodes and more. Now, we've been producing outdoors television for over 20 years, and many of our classic series like Big Bass Battle, Crappie Time, American Fly Guide, they're all on Expert Outdoors. Search for it on YouTube, Expert Outdoors. Start with the letter X. Now, I joke that we couldn't afford the extra E, but the reality is that we really like that XO logo more. Expert Outdoors on YouTube. We'd love it if you'd find it and subscribe. Now let's hit the water again on the Little Red River and continue our education from Jeff Smith and Dave Taylor with some fabulous trout fishing.
There's a brown trout. You can tell by the way he's fighting.
All right. Nice.
There's the species we're looking for.
That's it.
To the trout fishermen, this is our smallmouth on steroids.
Yeah.
Pretty, isn't he?
Boy, that's a beautiful fish.
And the cool thing about those fish right there is they're all native.
Yeah.
You know, that's a fish that came from an egg in this river.
Well, this is a thrill for me to be on the Little Red River with Jeff and David here. We have talked about doing this for quite some time.
We have, yeah.
And we couldn't have picked a prettier morning to do it as well. Going for the trout, we've got brown as our target, but we'll take anything that bites. We've had a few rainbows this morning, and this is just, it's a fun technique, a little bit of moving water. Jeff, thanks for taking us out today.
Man, I'm glad we're getting to do it.
Jeff, we've got a unique rig here. It's a fast moving retrieve. Kind of tell us the theory behind this.
Yeah, well, what's happened is over the years, we've been straight trout magnet people, which is a slow, medium to low water technique. We partnered with J.D. Dudley, who has owned D2 jigs and Arkansas Original, you know, for years, to be honest with you. From back in the 70s, this jig was on the White River. And what they do is they use this on the high water to get trout to react to that odd fall. So it's got a odd shaped head with a real thick marabou plume. So on this high water, the current doesn't affect it as much. So it wants to fall, and then when you rip it, it falls, and you rip it, it falls. And so typically you're catching the fish when it falls. So the deeper the water it is, the more the pause. Like right through here, it's about 4 feet deep. So it'll be a rip and then it'll be a pause. then it'll be a rip and a pause. So the pause is all determined on how deep that water is. Most of these trout are gonna be right up on the bottom. So if we're not getting down to them, you know, they won't hit it. You just have to watch the depth of the water, and basically we're fishing horizontal, but I mean right to the bank, not upstream or downstream a lot. That's typically the best way to do it, but with this technique, you can cast up or down. Up, you gotta reel a little bit more. Down, the current keeps it up.
And what's the weight of the jig head?
This is an 1/8 ounce.
1/8 ounce.
And we'll change it down the lighter it gets. The bigger fish like to feed when the water's up, so that 1/8 is typically what we're gonna use when we're targeting the bigger fish. Oh, look at the sun coming down through there. God is good.
Oh, look at there, that's pretty.
That is cool. Two different angles, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I even stopped fishing for a second. That doesn't happen often. I don't think so. Could eat the fish.
Eat the fish.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He's just a rainbow. Wow. He never fought. He never fought at all.
I saw the head shake on your rod, and I was like, that's got to be a bigger.
What a beautiful rainbow.
That is pretty.
Beautiful fish. D2, Little Red River. Anyways, yeah, he's got full fins. Gill plate's purple. Yeah, he's beautiful.
That's a beautiful fish.
So the D2 is working. When we come back, you'll hear what had to happen to bring two people with the same passion for fishing together and then together again 20 years later.
Arkansas's Great Outdoors is brought to you by Bad Boy Mowers, mow with an attitude, by Vexus Boats, by Visit Hot Springs, America's first resort, and by Certified Arkansas Bait Fish, the safe bait.
Probably what stood out the most was the fit finish.
Quality. The room and fishability, man, was just amazing.
Huge compartments, big deep live wells, storage everywhere.
It's just a smooth ride overall.
That was a way smoother ride than I thought it was going to be.
Like riding a rocket when you come out of the hole.
The thing I love about this boat the most is the handling, steering, and performance of this boat.
Awesome. Very good ride.
Thumbs up. Enjoyed it. You have to take a ride in it, see for yourself.
It's a new generation of boats that no one's ever seen before.
Let's wrap up this trout trip on the Little Red River with a visit from an old friend.
What is that?
That's a
Look
bass.
at that. Oh, Carlton, he brought it to us. That doesn't happen every day.
Oh, thank you, my friend. Oh, it is great to see you. The mouth is so small.
That doesn't happen every day. Way to go.
Right.
You brought those.
Did he know that you were trying to catch those down in Lone Oak and start off?
That's right. The largemouth bass bite is on, baby. Yeah, when I talked to you yesterday, Jeff, we're discussing strategy, which place to go, and I said, well, I like go big or go home, but I can't. We don't want to zero.
Yeah.
And you I could tell you're like, we're not going to zero.
We're not going to zero.
No, we were asking if you wanted to catch 30 fish and maybe a good one.
And that's about what we are.
Or would you rather catch 100 of these?
Yeah, yeah.
And part of the process of developing products is you're always looking ahead to what's needed next or what's needed in this situation. And you had a situation here on the White River, you're thinking, hey, we need something to handle the high water times.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we did. We were struggling. We made a crankbait, a jerkbait actually for the hot water. Yeah, it works okay. If you like throwing those types of baits, it works okay. But it really wasn't the numbers that we wanted, and the smaller fish didn't like it either. So you really were just targeting one big fish all day, or a couple big fish. So anyways, because of David Taylor, Swirl of Mall God Service, he was fishing our stuff a whole lot, and he's like, we've got to learn to catch fish on the Little Red on high water, and turn to the White River really to see how they were doing it. And they were using marabou jigs a lot of times to get down faster. And the difference between a marabou jig and let's say even a trout magnet is the trout magnet's made of plastic. I just use this crappie bait right here, right? And plastic gets pushed with the water, where this right here, as it gets wet, sinks. So the high current would not do the same motion to a trout magnet that it would this marabou. Well, we didn't want to copy anybody's product in particular, so we knew that this one in particular worked really good. And so 20 years ago, I'd met a guy on chance just at a bed and breakfast when my wife and I visited, and he told me he made these jigs, and never saw him again until 20 years later when he called our office asking for fishing line. And we had been talking about him just the week before, about this jig and wanting something like this. Well, again, it's just amazing how the story gets connected to the right people. He was looking for someone to help him with his business. We needed a product like this, so we merged together to bring D2 jigs under the trout magnet. So this jig goes back 40 years or more, and really hasn't had a place outside of Arkansas. People haven't seen it. If you go to the White River or Taneycomo, you'll see this type of lure up there. And so now we have the trout magnet D2, which comes in different, that's one of the colors we were using right there today. And it comes in an 1/8 and a 16th. There's other sizes out there. That's the first two that we're gonna sell under our brand. And man, it helps you on that fast water. You rip it and it falls. It seems like the deeper the water column, the faster the water, the more effective it is. And so on a trout magnet, you want the medium to slow water where it's just drifting, meandering along, and those trout just suck it in and you wear them out. When you go to the D2 in that low water, they don't want it. It falls too fast. So you really have to have both scenarios here in Arkansas with generation like we have on the White, Little Red, even Beaver Tail waters in Norfolk. You have tons of fast water. That's when you want to get a D2 and you want to get light line, you know,
4 pound, 6 pound.
4 pound, 6 pound with a fluorocarbon leader, even with it. JD fishes with 2 pound to 2 pound fluorocarbon leader so he can cast it further. We're using 6 pound braid to a 4 pound or 3 pound fluorocarbon leader because it can still sink, and the braid is very thin. That's only because it's a heavy jig. When you go to a trout magnet and try to throw that braid, it doesn't work. It makes it float. So a system approach idea, just thinking what you have to have for each one. If you just want one setup, put 2 pound line and 2 pound fluorocarbon leader to fish a trout magnet, and you can still throw this D2, right? We just like that braid at times because it gives you a little bit more feel.
It's a great story, great fishing story, and a great Arkansas business story. We thank Jeff Smith and David Taylor at Trout Magnet for a great day on the water. Thanks also to the Quiver Archery in Bentonville and Marin for sharing her love of the sport. Thanks to Bad Boy Mowers for their continued support of the outdoors in Arkansas, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next week from somewhere in Arkansas's great outdoors.